Communication is what really kickstarted our growth as a species. It allowed us to efficiently share ideas and information, which saves countless hours. With the rise of the internet, companies now have a new medium to advertise their products. Media sites such as Facebook and Twitter act as advertising outlets for a larger corporation striving to find the largest audience. Unfortunately, the competition causes companies and organizations to take an illegitimate route to stand out among the crowd of competitors. On one end of the spectrum, there are some companies enhancing pictures or videos of their products to change what the viewer expects from their product. On the other end of the spectrum, other companies provide services or products that don't perform as advertised. If anyone has seen a magazine with a model on the cover, or seen a billboard with pictures of food on it, they may say that both images appear extremely presentable or appealing. This is what an advertisement is supposed to do: attract attention to a product and encourage someone to buy it. In the marketing world, appearance is everything, and sadly, most of the time it is rather deceiving. Most, if not all, advertisements are usually enhanced before they make it out to the public. Enhanced is a broad term. It usually means the use of Photoshop, adding color correction, or even completely recreating the product as a perfect digital form. An example would be the classic expectation versus reality comparisons of McDonald's burgers. This is a picture that we all know, the classic and world famous picture of a McDonald's Big Mac. And this is the picture of a sight that we're all too familiar with, the disappointing sight of how a Big Mac actually looks like outside the box. The picture of the Big Mac is extremely enhanced and probably even contains artificial materials that make it look presentable. In short, that isn't a Big Mac. Pictures aren't the only forms of advertisements that can be edited. Commercials are also subject to presenting false expectations. Commercials often fantasize their products to make it look like their product will bring happiness. Take perfume and other deodorant commercials for example.
Dolce & Gabbana, Luan, the new fragrance for men.
Gentlemen only, a new fragrance for men by Givenchy.
Notice anything similar? All of these commercials present an expectation of beauty, as if it tells the viewer that if you buy this, then you'll become this. It lets the viewer imagine an unrealistic expectation of themselves and presents it in a way that they can acquire the image through the product. The rule of thumb when it comes to advertisements is that they need to be taken with a grain of salt. Don't let ads confuse the difference between expectation and reality. Following this rule would generally prevent a buyer from being disappointed in a product, but there are some exceptions. Sometimes service-providing companies do not perform as advertised. A broad example of this is with Internet Service Providers, or ISP for short. ISPs have full control over their customers' internet connection and can do things behind the scenes that affects their browsing experience. One thing they can do is throttle internet connections. No matter what speed you buy, ISPs can limit the connection speed to certain sites, slow down connection after downloading too much, or even claim that the internet usage is unlimited, while in actuality it just has a large usage cap. Another example of products not performing as advertised is in computer hardware. From GPUs to CPUs, everything in the computer hardware world is benchmarked for performance. Back in the early 2000s, Intel found themselves in an antitrust lawsuit, as they were forced to pay out $1.25 billion to AMD. Intel allegedly fixed benchmark results and bribed reviewers to skew performance numbers. Although this is in the past, Intel's growth towards a monopoly has made both the computer hardware community and programmers biased towards their products. It is hard to find programs that are optimized for AMD nowadays. This unjust business tactic has formed a bias in the community, which acts as a form of advertisement in itself. However, it has become evident that it's not just commercials that are misleading the audience, but mainstream news outlets as well. For one, fake news is not difficult to create today. Now, with the internet, it is easy to create false content. Circular sourcing is one way that media can create false information. It works by having one story or event, then having multiple websites or stories cite the first story. Now, another story can use the multiple websites or stories as its source, making it appear as if the story is legitimately researched when it is actually not. In addition, it is without a doubt that media is subject to bias. Especially in light of recent events, it has become clear that one can no longer implicitly trust news companies, even well-known organizations. For example, in February of 2017, Fox News had Niels Bildt, who was identified on-screen and verbally as the Swedish Defense and National Security Advisor on the O'Reilly Factor for an on-air interview. However, security experts in Sweden said that he was not a security advisor and in fact had no direct role within the Swedish government. Moreover, just 1 month before in January, Fox News also falsely tweeted about the suspect at the Quebec mosque shooting in Canada as Moroccan in origin, even though that was in fact a falsehood. Unfortunately, not all of this can be blamed on the bias in the media, but another more troubling problem, the lack of fact-checking. With the beginning of the digital age, people are becoming less inclined to pay for content due to the abundance of resources on the internet. This is bad news for traditional news organizations who depend on physical advertising in their newspapers to generate revenue. While it is possible to use advertising online, it is proven to be the savior to news agencies. And while TV news revenue has been on the rise, they are simply written news repackaged and are dependent on traditional print media for their stories. Print ad revenues in the United States have fallen from $44.9 billion in 2003 to just $16.4 billion in 2014, while digital ad revenues, sitting at $3.5 billion, have barely changed since 2006. The demand on journalists have also been on the rise, according to Marty Baron, an editor on the Washington Post. Journalists have to be involved in traditional reporting, social media, wired services 24 hours a day, and be responsible for video. As such, news may be forced to choose between truth or ratings, and ratings are chosen before truth for the sake of bringing in more money. The digital age has brought back yellow journalism, using hyperboles and eye-catching headlines to attract readers' attentions while presenting poorly researched, illegitimate news. The rise of the internet and social media have also allowed fake news to spread farther and reach a larger audience. However, it has also brought tools that help identify information as either hoax or fact. Snopes is a website commonly regarded as the oldest and largest fact-checking website on the internet, one that is widely used by journalists. It features fact checks on politicians, news events, products, events in history, and even urban legends. It is a readily available source where one can confirm any news received as either a legitimate article or a deceptive one meant to stir up discord. So the next time you see an advertisement or a news story, question yourself, is this advertisement just a way for you to spend more money on the product? Is this news report biased? And how does this tell the story from both sides? Thanks for watching, and I hope this PSA has been helpful to you.